Hi, welcome to the 2015 Choctober Archery Tournament. My name is Greg Saman,
I'm Beth Wixton.
and we'd like to welcome you. We have a really beautiful day for shooting. We have a lot of talented archers here today, and I think it's going to be a good time. We're going to do it in an A-B line style format, and you're also going to have a recurve division and a compound division. And we're going to start with the A line. Beth, are you pretty excited about this?
Oh, very.
How long have you been shooting for, Beth?
5 years?
Nice. Are you primarily a hunter or mostly a target shooter?
A little bit both. I like 3D shoots at Joliet Archery Club.
Oh yeah, that's a great place. I know that the store that I work at is going to have some 3D leagues, which would be a lot of fun. I think you could do even like a father-daughter league, so if you wanted to. All right, we have our archers up on the line in the gray and orange. We have Carson Crisp in the black fleece. We have Ryan Osti. They are both compound shooters. On the end, we have Kevin Foodie and Nick Honar, and they are not only shooting recurve today, but they are barebow recurve shooters. Beth, are you familiar with that style of archery?
Hmm?
Are you familiar with barebow style of archery?
No.
So what you'll notice different about their bows is they don't have sights, they don't have
Yeah.
stabilizers. It's just good old-fashioned bows, pure skill.
I couldn't imagine shooting without a sight or
It's
balance.
it's pretty hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of recurve shooters will make fun of compound shooters. They say, well, we shoot our bows without training wheels, so.
True. But can't you not adjust the weight on those?
You can adjust the weight a pretty, there's not a lot of room for adjustment. And I also know that Kevin is shooting a bow that is just too much. 51 pounds.
Yeah. I shoot at about 48, I think.
Yeah, I think my compound is at about 52 pounds. My target compound's at 60. And then my recurve's 28 because I just don't want to fight it. I just want to shoot and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So on the end, in the blue fleece, we have Jake Rimza. He's been with Archery Club for a while now. And then we have John Kane, who is a new archer and I believe a freshman. And then we have Jake Rimza here on the end in the black leather, like a boss wearing his leather. Or, not sorry, Jake Cameron. Cameron Wilkins, like a boss. I always mix them up, and I don't know why, because they don't even look alike. They've both been in club for a while. Cam has a very serious look on his face. He's here to win, apparently.
Yeah, he's here for business.
There's some really solid rounds as I kind of scan the targets. Some really solid scores. It's going to make it a close tournament today. So in a common standard Joed tournament, have you done any of those ever?
No.
So what our traditional format of our tournament is today is they have 2 minutes to shoot 3 arrows. Once the whistle is blown, the 2 whistles, that means that they can get on the line and knock an arrow. They only have 10 seconds to get on that line. Now, granted, within the 10 seconds, once the 10 seconds is expired, then they get that full 2 minutes. So they're carefully keeping their scores. We should have those scores in a little bit, as soon as they bring me their scorecards. Do you do a lot of 3D shooting?
Yeah.
What type of bow do you have?
Mission craze.
Nice bow. They just redesigned it a little bit, made it a little bit lighter. Yeah, barebow archery it's really hard. I have a great deal of respect for archers who are successful barebow shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me my training wheels. And even without my training wheels, give me my sight and my stabilizer on my recurve, and I'll take all of that. These are basically hunting compound sites that you're seeing a lot of our kids shooting here today, too. A target rig is very, very different. It's a very big bow, a taller riser. So, yeah,
Yeah, my bow's just set up for like hunting.
right. Yeah, you'll see the target rig will sometimes have a single pin sight, which means instead of using multiple pins from multiple distances, so, oh, it looks like our stray dog may have found his family, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we just have spectators. Found a dog on the range today. We're going to make sure he finds his home. But yeah, they'll have a single pin sight. A lot of times, target shooters will shoot with magnification, which means there's actually a lens on their sight, which will, like a set of binoculars, zoom in on the
Hmm.
target. And you'll usually find that their stabilizer setup is very different. They want to push the weight away from their bow as much as possible for stability. And they'll add quite a bit of weight to their bow to stay stable in wind. Because it's really about that X. I think you would agree that as a hunter, you really kind of only have to shoot a pie pan like size
Yeah.
target to take down a deer. But when you get to target archery, it becomes much more precise,
Yeah, with hunting, you just need to shoot at the vitals.
right? And hopefully the broadhead will do the rest of it.
Yeah.
So it looks like we have some parents coming to spectate. They're getting the scores in right now. Still kind of waiting for all the scores to come in. I know, waiting is part of archery, unfortunately. And we're still waiting for Cameron to bring in the scores. If he wants this round to count, he'll bring in the scores. All right, so looking at our round, from the other round in our recurve division, and it's going to be a very close match. It looks like we have Jake Rimza in first place,
Looks like Ryan Ostie in second.
and Carson, it might be, oh, and he's following at the 26. Cameron Wilkins at 24, and John came at the 20. Still a lot of time in the tournament in anybody's game. In our recurve division, we have Nick Honer with 12.
And Kevin Foodie with 12.
So that's going to be interesting. We'll see if that keeps up. When it comes to a tiebreaker at the end of a tournament, what it'll come down to is X's. So even within the two yellow rings is a smaller yellow ring in the very center of the target. It still counts as 10 points, but it's marked as an X. So what happens is whoever has the most amount of X's, depending on how their score turns out, will win the tournament. Now, if that ties, which has happened in the past, we'll go to nines. After nines, we'll do a single arrow shootout. And what a single arrow shootout will do is it'll be whoever's closest to the X. Looks like Cameron's struggling with his bow a little bit today. Something probably to do with his rest. Did you get a chance to catch the other rounds? I was kind of watching Cameron. Everyone do pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're tearing out that yellow pretty well.
I think the first round was better.
Oh, absolutely. We'll see if Nick and Kevin continue to tie. So our two compound shooters are Carson Crisp in the silver and Ryan Oste in the black, and they're kind of neck and neck right now for second place. They're only split by a 2-point difference. Carson's form looks really solid. He has his hand out and open, relaxed. He's anchoring really, really well. Ryan has a really old bow. I would love to see him win it with this thing. It's gotta be from like the 1970s or something.
Yeah.
But Carson has very solid form. Maybe a little bit of his hip is in, but not very bad. And our archers had a very quick round that round and are going to retrieve. So you're kind of wishing you were shooting this thing right now?
Eh.
A little bit?
I always found this interesting how there's like so many rings when in a 3D shoot. It's just hard shots 10, like vitals is 8, and then anywhere is 5.
Well, you have a 12 too, don't you? Get a 12, 10, 8? 12,
No.
10, 8, 6? Oh, okay. Some of the tournaments I've been to with the 3Ds are 12, 10, then 8, and then anywhere else on the animal was 6.
Oh.
But Joliet, here's the thing is like every club has kind of their own rules. So
Yeah.
they kind of call it like they are. What we follow here at Archery Club, at LT Archery Club at least, is what's called JOAD rules, which is Junior Olympic Archery Development, also known as FIDA rules. And that's kind of what we stick with. There's also another archery association called NFAA, National Field Archery Association, and it's funny because the rules for that are totally different. So, for example, an indoor tournament for JOAD or FIDA would be 3 arrows, and we're doing an indoor tournament style outside. Typical outside arrow or FIDA is 6 arrows, but NFAA indoor tournaments 5 arrows because they'll shoot a 5 spot the first day, which is 5 separate bullseyes, and then a single spot the second day. Have you done any of the NFAA tournaments?
No.
They're a lot of fun. So did you start on a compound? Was that your first bow?
I started on my dad's old Genesis.
Nice.
My mom and I used to like switch off on it, and she ended up getting, I think she had a Parker, and now she has a Jewel.
Oh, the Jewel's a really nice bow.
I had a Hoyt Ruckus, and I grew out of that, so now I'm with my Mission Craze.
Ruckus is a good bow. Mission Craze is a great bow. It's probably one of the number one selling youth compound bows on the market. It's kind of pretty prevalent. You'll show up at a tournaments, you'll see a lot of like Mission Crazes.
Yeah.
Pronouncing?
Yeah.
You could have that.
You're gonna help out.
Pronouncing, yeah.
Okay. Well, you can just pick over to me if you want. I mean, it's up to you.
I wish I do.
Have you ever done archery before?
Well, I mean, I know how to do it. I know compound is here, recur is here.
A little bit different, yeah. You can take over from me.
I should always try and get like another set.
Yeah, one of their headsets. Talk to the truck and see if they can get you another headset. It's there. But talk to them first. They'll bring you the headset. I don't want to put it on their tournament. They have a feed to the truck, so you can talk to them. If they're in the truck, they'll give you another headset.
So they're behind the.
No, truck's there. But they're there. So just talk to one of the carriers. All right, so we have our second round scores coming in. We have Carson Chris with a 28. Kevin Foodie, who is one of our barebow recurve shooters, with an 8. Okay. Remember, barebow recurve is not an easy thing to do. We have Cameron Wilkins with a 25. As soon as I find my mouse, there it is.
I know Steve has a 23.
All right, now Steve with the 23. Oh, Steve. Half of Robbles. All right, John Kane, also with a solid 23. The maximum amount of points they can get is a 30 per round. We have Nick with a 19.
I think I got that wrong. You think you said it added from this one?
And we have Jake Rimza with a 25. Jake, tell everyone I need to score individually for each round, too. Even though you're keeping running total, I need an individual round. Tell everyone. All right, so let me get our total working. That would help. And we'll tell you who is placed where.
We have some stretching going on at the line.
That's not to be expected. All right, so it looks like we have our A line up.
One stray arrow, couple, but mostly it's pretty solid.
We're probably gonna have to mark. Did we have any misses down there?
Yeah, I think there's a couple.
Okay. Fortunately, they only get 2 arrows to shoot, which doesn't give them a lot of room for errors, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We're having a little bit of computer difficulties right now, so. Just give us a moment. We'll have your current totals or who's in the lead in just a bit. That was another very quick round there.
Want me to just do the adding on my phone?
That'd be great until I can get this working.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Jake has 54.
Okay.
Carson with 54.
There's a tie going on. We'll see what place that puts him.
Ryan with 51.
All right.
Cameron with 49. And John with 43.
All right. So
Nick-
it looks like that puts us with a tie for first place between Jake and Carson right now.
Yeah, this will be tough.
All right, and then with our recurve division, we have. Actually, I think. Hold on 1 second. I have flip-flop scores. The recurve division, we have Kevin Foodie with a 20.
Yeah, he had 2
And-
misses last round.
Yeah. He is pulling a 51-pound recurve, which I personally think is insane.
Yeah.
Mostly unnecessary. Minimum poundage for hunting is 40, I believe, right,
Yeah.
Beth?
For most animals.
Right. Unless you're hunting like moose or bear or
Yeah.
something crazy like that. So I don't know where that decision came from.
But even bear, I think, is 45 or 50 tops.
Yeah, it's just I personally would never shoot a recurve of 51 pounds. No, thank you. I had to string it for him when he first brought it to the range, and I didn't appreciate any of that.
Yeah. I personally will stick to compound
Yeah, it's easier.
much.
All right. So that round, John has a 21. We're into our third round. These are scores for our third round. Kevin Foodie has a 1 that round. Struggling with his bow.
Hey, everyone has an off day.
That's absolutely true. And everyone has an off round. And the worst thing you can do when you're shooting is concentrate on that off round. I mean, we've all had bad rounds where you just literally have to leave it in the past and just move on
Yeah.
and not worry about it, because it's when you start to worry about it and it starts eating you up.
Yeah, you'll psych yourself out and have even more.
Absolutely. Nick is quickly stealing the lead from Kevin. He has a 14 that round. John Cana a 21. Ryan Ostie had a 28.
Not very good so far.
Cameron Wilkins is coming in. He needed a 28 to keep his lead with our, no, I'm sorry, that was Carson and Jake. He may have just pulled up his score quite a bit. He has a 26 that round. Let's see if Carson held on to his lead or is tying with Jake. He also has a 26, so he's giving up the lead by 2 points.
Does the computer no work, or should I?
No, I'm going to get it. I'm determined now. If you want to edit manually, you can, but like I said, now it's a matter of pride.
Gotcha.
We're using a different program. I'm used to Excel, which has this like really nifty auto sum feature.
Yeah.
And this program, not so much. I'm trying to remember how to do sum, which makes me look really dumb.
Like, you tell her to move?
You have to tell her to move. She can't be there.
Who would go that way anyway?
I don't know. Parents aren't always. They sometimes get a little overzealous with the safety of archery, and I would agree that safety archery actually gets a bad rap. It's a pretty safe sport,
Yeah.
but it's not safe enough that I'm brave enough to stand down range while people are shooting.
Accidents do happen. And
Oh, absolutely. I've had arrows where the nocks have snapped,
Yeah.
and that arrow flew crazy. All right, we've got the computer working.
the one.
So, after that round, we have Jake Rimza with an 82 after the third round. We have Carson Chris with an 80. We have Ryan Oste with a 79. Cameron Wilkins has a 75. And John Kane has a 64. We have Nick Honar with a 45. And Kevin Foodie with a 21. He had a rough round, and he's going to have to bounce back from it. It's just that simple.
He looked a little frustrated leaving the line, but
That's one. It's the mental aspect of this sport. It's probably one of the hardest things, is that you cannot let those bad rounds get to you.
yeah.
It's it's a I do a competitive archery team, and it's probably one of the things as a team and individuals that we struggle with the most. Last tournament I shot at, I had a pretty awful day. I mean, I still did okay, but part of why I still did okay is because I was able to just say, yeah, whatever, I'm just shooting,
Yeah.
and let's have fun and not worry so much about the score. So this is pretty different than 3D.
Yeah.
Probably not as much fun, but different.
Usually for 3D, they just have them set up at random points on the walking trail in the woods.
Right. So you're talking about field 3D.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and we've done a FIDA field too, which is similar, but they don't tell you what the distances are.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of animals, it's targets. So that's always a good time.
For ones I shoot, you're not supposed to use a rangefinder. You're supposed to try and judge it.
Right. Not everyone has that talent. I have a couple archers on my team that are basically human rangefinders. They can tell you within the yard.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they'll look at a thing and they'll be like, yeah, it's 25 and a half yards. And sure enough, you'll measure it. And it's 25 and a half yards.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. He's like 11 and he can do that.
It's a great talent to have.
if you can. None of our archers are using them here, but you will find competitive target archers will use a fat shaft, and it means it's literally like really thick, fat shafts. And the reason they do it is because fat shafts break lines, and
Yeah.
if you break a line, it counts up. You will find for a lot of our outdoor competitive archers, they use a very thin shaft, almost like the inside when you take a pen apart,
Mhm.
or like one of those stupid, really thin coffee stirring straws.
Yeah.
And the reason that happens is because with the fat shaft, it's going to be taken by wind, and the distances for an outdoor tournament can be up to 70 meters. But with the thin shaft, it doesn't get as affected by wind, so it works out really, really well.
Yeah, and it's a lot lighter, so it'd fly faster.
Right, and a lot of youth archers aren't pulling a ton of pounds, and they need all the help they can get to make those distances.
True.
All right, we have our scores coming in. We have Nick Honar with an 11. We have Foodie with a 9. He's definitely going to have to step things up. We have John coming in with a solid 20. Again, John's a relatively new archer, and he's pulling up some really solid scores for his first tournament. We have Carson coming in with a 28. Let's see if he re-puts him back on par with Jake. Here comes Jake's score. Jake looks pretty happy. He doesn't look too worried. Jake has a 29. Like I said, maximum of these rounds could be out at our 30, so Jake is really tearing it up out there today. Cameron looks very upset. We'll see what his score turns out to be. He's shot a 21, which is a very respectable score, and he shouldn't be so upset. So go away and smile, would you? Jeez. And we have Ryan Ostie with a 27, which is also a very solid score considering the age of his bow. His grandfather-like bow. It was a 2? 22? Sorry.
It probably was his grandfather's bow.
What? No, we have to be honest about scores. 22. He just has really poor handwriting. All right. Jake is really starting to solidify his lead in this tournament for the compound shooters. 111 gives him a pretty decent, solid jump over Carson at 108. Carson's going to really have to start pulling out some 29s and 30s pretty solidly and hope that Jake makes a mistake. Ryan is holding a solid third place with 102, or 101, sorry, and he could easily come up on Carson and steal second place. And Cameron with a 96 and John with an 84. We have Nick Honar with a 56. That's giving him a 26-point lead on Kevin. Kevin's going to really have to
Step his game up.
yeah, absolutely. Nick isn't even part of Archery Club. He's an LT student and just decided that he was going to do this and decided to dominate today. So
Yeah.
we have our B lines coming up right now. Jake is really shooting solid today, and his form looks fantastic behind the bow. I know that Cameron wants to do some catch up here and get a really high score, and we'll see what happens. He's still kind of fighting his bow a little bit. I think you'll agree if you look at his hips, they're turned in a little bit to the target.
Yeah.
That's going to turn his shot a little bit. And he's doing something called punching. And what punching is he's really death gripping that release and really coming through it really hard. You want to have as light of a finger on that release as possible. Let just that pointer finger kind of do all the work with your back muscles. It's really done more with back tension than it is with the finger. Yeah, he's almost whipping through that trigger. And that was a full whip/punch through that trigger, which is not going to help his score.
No.
How was your release? Do you punch, or do you have pretty good follow through?
A pretty good follow through.
Yeah, good. Yeah, a punch is it's a very aggressive release of the bow. So what will happen is it really just takes on your consistency because you're not controlling the back end of your shot. So if you watch him, he's floating this finger over the trigger where he should be sitting really heavy on the trigger, opening his hands. And like I said, as he applies shoulder pressure or sticks his sternum out, depending on how you want to look at it, his finger is going to come through the trigger, and it's going to give him a smoother and more accurate release because he has more control and consistency in how his shot was executed.
So is the rest of the competitors in archery club?
We have a girl who was going to come today, but she had a conflict, and she is with a competitive archery team also called Chicagoland Bow Hunters, or CBH. She is also a barebow recurve shooter. It would have been nice to have her here today. Then we would have had 3 in the barebow division. Most of the other kids are not what I would call competitive shooters. They're what I would call recreational shooters.
Yeah.
Can you talk about Cameron's downfall, or you're shooting things this way?
No.
I could just tell him to help out.
I was trying to help him, and I was trying to announce and help him at the same time. Our stray dog friend / archery fan today is looking pretty scared, so I'm hoping we find their home, their parents, today. They didn't have tags, but it's definitely a dog that's spoiled and well taken care of,
Yeah.
so I'm sure there's someone somewhere who is just miserable.
Yeah, he doesn't have a collar, but as some of the boys called it, a whimsical bandana.
Yes, I think we called that Flair back in my house. That's dog Flair. Sweet puppy. We'll find his home. It's a really beautiful day for this tournament.
Yeah.
We couldn't have asked for better weather. Not too hot, not too cold. This is kind of the where I'd want to be shooting in right now. It's a shame we don't have Roger and his drone doing the archery tournament today. Though some of the kids might be tempted to shoot Roger's drone out of the air.
That does sound like a good time.
Right? So you were never interested in pursuing competitive archery, huh?
Not
Just
really.
like doing it with the fam?
Yeah.
Kind of a family thing? Now you've been hunting. Have you actually successfully gotten a deer?
Nope.
Not yet,
Hopefully
right?
this year.
This is the year.
Yeah, this is the year.
How many pounds are you pulling, you said?
48.
Oh, so you're within hunting requirements. We encourage for anyone who's interested in hunting and wanting to do archery as a hunting sport. I know that we as a club encourage a hunter safety course. 21. All right, we have Ryan coming in with a 25.
And really bad handwriting.
Awful handwriting. All right. We have Carson with a 26. Carson is still struggling to catch up with Jake. All right. John pulls out a solid round with a 22. And as soon as I find my mouse. There we are. All right. Thank you,
Yeah, he's
John.
shooting really consistently today.
He is. And like I said, that's part of archery. And I think that you would agree also that part of archery is practice.
Yes.
This is not a sport that you can't just sit around and pick up a bow every 6 months and expect to do well at. It's something that you really have to work at. Kevin is coming back solid with a 21. The exact score he needs. Let's see if Nick is keeping his score solid. Nick has a nice score of 15, and that's still putting Kevin behind him, but I wouldn't say significantly. The gap is only about 20 right now. With 4 rounds to go, you could easily make up that difference. And we have Cameron with a 21, which is also, he is also shooting very consistently today, I think.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. I guess I would have liked to see more girls at the tournament today. We have Olivia helping out. We're very helpful with that, or very thankful for that. Thanks, Olivia. She is being our line judge. And we have Mr. Thomas, who is a volunteer with LT Archery and a wonderful friend, kind enough to volunteer. If you also know Mrs. Flounders is our archery co-sponsor, and she's on maternity leave right now. Looks like Jake switched places a little bit this round. His
Yeah.
hips are consistent, but they are not what I would call perfect.
Yeah.
Cameron looks like he's made a slight hip adjustments, turning away a little bit more. That follow through is less of a whip. I think it looks a lot better and more consistent. I think you'll see his score improve because of it. And John is also looking very solid and consistent behind that bow. Nice hand on, nice grip that John's doing on his bow. You can really see his hand turned out and relaxed, and that's the way it needs to be. Your hand needs to be turned out about 45 degrees with your elbow popped ever so slightly out of lock for a compound.
Have you gone hunting yet this year?
What's that?
Have you gone hunting yet this year?
I am not a hunter.
Oh.
I couldn't do it. I don't have the heart to. Maybe if it was a turkey. They're ugly.
My mom always
They're
says
pretty
that.
mean. I don't think I'd feel too bad about it. But even when I see the hunting TV shows, it's like a deer just casually eating grass, and then all of a sudden he has a hole through his body. Pretty startling to the deer and everyone.
Yeah, my dad always talks about the shakes he gets.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's always funny because, like I said, I work at an archery store. We get these new archers that think they have to pull 70-pound bows.
Yeah.
And that's great in an air-conditioned and climate-controlled building.
Yeah.
But then when you get out to the woods and you've been freezing your butt off for about 6 hours, hoping a deer comes by, and then the deer finally does come by and your adrenaline's pumping, and you go to pull back a 70-pound bow, it's just not happening. I don't know what to tell you. I think that a bow should be a little bit hard, but mostly comfortable to pull.
Yeah.
That's why I keep my Z7 at about 52 pounds. And at 52 pounds, I'm moving an arrow through the chrono at 289 feet per second, which is not a slow bow.
No.
Third fletching I've lost today.
Your rest. It's probably your rest. Looks like Ryan's having a slight equipment problem with his arrow rest. It's tearing off his fletchings. That is going to affect his score because it's going to affect the flight of his arrow. I bring a dozen arrows to a tournament, or at least 11, in case depending on how many I've lost. And you always want extra arrows at a tournament. You want extra fletchings. You want extra nocks. You want all these arrow components and tools, just in case, just to make sure that you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you don't want to run out of arrows halfway through.
Well, and that has happened, unfortunately. Like, we've talked about those bad days, and
Yeah.
a new archer will quite often lose arrows. I mean, you're talking shooting 40 or 50 meters out there.
Yeah.
When you get a miss, they burrow. They burrow underground, and they are not fun to find.
No. You might donate some to the wood gods too.
Right, yeah. I'm sure I have something. There's Blackwell Archery Range. It's a free archery range, and I know I have about a $30 arrow somewhere out there, dialing in for my site and burying them underground. Scores after the 5th round are pretty solid. The new scores haven't come in for the 6th round, but we're looking at first place with Jake Rimza at a 138. Carson Crisp is only 4 points behind. If I was Jake, that would not be comfortable enough for
No.
me. I would want a much higher lead than that. We have Ryan Ostie with a solid 126, and it looks like that puts him in 3rd place. In 4th place, we have John Kane, and in 5th place, Cameron Wilkins. As far as our recurve division, it looks like Kevin had a better round this round. I didn't see as many misses. So that's what he needs to beat Nick's 71. He only has a 51. But a 20-point lead is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
It's almost a round. So, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be sitting pretty with that. I'd be like, well, that 4-point lead for first place right now is anybody's game.
Yeah. And it's really hard to, like, get a bigger gap for Jake from Carson
Right.
because they're shooting such good rounds together.
Yeah, they really are solid. It's funny, too, because they came through the club kind of together, kind of got their bows at the same time, and are shooting pretty similarly.
Yeah, they're shooting almost perfect rounds. It's going to be really hard to break away.
I don't know if I picked up my bow. It's been a while since I picked up my bow. If I would even be shooting that solid. I'd be willing to give them a run for their money, though. Oh, and scores are coming in. Nick doesn't have as big of a smile on his face as he's had in the past. We'll see.
Looks like he shot a 12.
Yep, we got a 12.
And
We'll
Kevin
see
had
if Kevin has...
looks like a 13.
All right, so Kevin's slowly gaining on him. I'm sure he'd like to be gaining on him faster. So Ryan comes in with legible handwriting and a 22.
That's always a good sign.
I like the legible handwriting personally. All right, here comes Carson. These are the two that we're waiting to see. Carson has a very solid 25. Now, whether that's enough to give Jake a run for his money, we're about to find out.
Looks like Jake has a 26.
Oh, they're so close. All right, we have Cameron coming in with a 19, shooting pretty consistent rounds.
He doesn't look very happy.
He doesn't look very happy, but that's okay. Again, I'm going to remind our archers today that practice makes perfect. And we're waiting for John's scores. Sometimes they forget to turn their scores in. It's not really traditionally how an archery tournament usually works. If you watch televised archery, they have live scoring going on per arrow.
Yeah.
But they also have a much larger production budget than we have. And our production budget here is nothing. So there you go. Also, they do something called double scoring in an archery tournament. Is that what you guys do for 3D?
I don't think so.
So what double scoring means is that there'll be 3 to 4 people per bale. And one person writes all the scores, one person calls all the arrows, one person pulls all the arrows, or 2 people write and one person calls and one person pulls. And what happens is at the end of the tournament, everybody signs everybody's scorecard. And that's what keeps them honest. If you sign the card and your score isn't right, at that point, it's too late.
Yeah.
You've agreed to it, and that is the score that'll be entered. We have world champion archer Rio Wild, who recently shot in a tournament in Copenhagen and didn't realize his scorecard was wrong and signed the card, and it cost him 100 points.
Wow.
Or over 100 points. So yeah, professional archer, been shooting for years, and he makes that mistake, which is it's not funny, but I'm sure maybe a little bit later he laughed about it.
Yeah.
We have it's funny too because people think you have to go really far to find like these world champion or Olympic archers. We have actually quite a few from Illinois. Vic Wonderly is from down South Illinois, several-time Olympic champion. And we have Alex Wiffler, friend of the archery store and team, and he is a world champion, won Vegas last year. So that's quite the accomplishment. Vegas is not an easy tournament. In Copenhagen, they had to shoot in hail, golf ball size hail.
Oh my God.
I don't even know how you would practice for that, except have your friends throw golf balls at you while you're shooting.
Yeah, that's so weird. Do they just like wait for a day with a storm?
They the only thing that will stop an outdoor archery tournament is lightning.
Huh?
So it could be pouring rain, and the tournament still goes on.
How do you even see the target?
Not well. And you'll find too that in the strong wind and rain, target archers usually use what's called a back tension release, but you will find that they'll switch to a thumb release in rain. So once the wind steadies or the rain dies down, they can just let the shot rip instead of trying to execute it properly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they still execute it properly, but not as much focus is involved. Scores at the end of round 6, we have Jake in 164. It's a really solid lead. First place.
Oh, Carson's trailing with a 159.
Not that big of a lead, so we'll see if he can hold on. We still have 4 rounds to go. Ryan Elstees with a 148 in third place.
Cameron Wilkins has 136.
And we have John Kane, 123. And like I said, brand new archer, I would love to have that score when I was a new archer.
Yeah.
Um, Nick still has a 19-point lead on Kevin. Nick with the 63. And Kevin with
Kevin has 64.
64. So there we go. Those are the scores as they sit right now. We'll see when these scorecards come in from this round what happened.
It looks like everyone's doing pretty good today.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to we all have that bad round that we can't do anything about. Once the arrow's gone, the arrow's gone. We have some really solid yellows at Carson's target. He's really tearing up that yellow.
Yeah.
So what's the furthest shot that you've taken? How many meters out?
I want to say 50 yards.
Nice. That's pretty far out there.
50, 60. It's been a while since I shot that far.
Yeah. I know as an adult recurve shooter, which is basically primarily what I'm shooting now, for outdoor tournaments, they're talking about 70 meters, which is not fun. But the target's also about the size of a tractor tire. It's like 122 centimeter target face. If you look at our bales on the camera, that's like the entire bale. So it's not as bad as you think, but it's still 70 meters is still 70 meters. John is shooting so solid today. These rounds are just like all around each other. 22. Ryan's in with a 17. Now, that is his personal low for the day. Let's hope it doesn't affect his placement.
Here come the recurves with Kevin with an 11.
11. All right.
Quality score here.
And his buddy Nick.
He has, I believe it's a 6.
Uh-oh.
All right.
All right. Tables are starting to turn. That makes Nick have a score of 89. Kevin have a score of 75. 3 rounds to go. Is Kevin going to pull it out of the fire? All right. We have Carson with a, 27. All right. Let's
Jake
see
has
if
a 27 also.
they're neck and neck. They're still vying for that first place. That puts Jake with a 191 in first place. Carson Chris with a 186 in
Here
second.
comes Cameron. He's walking away before his
Apparently
scorecard.
he doesn't want his scorecard back. Cameron looks like he is a 25, which is a really good round and what he needs to get right now.
Yeah, he shouldn't look so ashamed.
Especially with Ryan having a bad round last round. That only puts him at a 4-point difference and only 3 rounds to go, but 4 points could be made up in 3 rounds.
Easily.
You'll hear a whistle system that they're using, and that is a FIDA whistle system or a Joad whistle system. 2 arrows get on the line and knock an arrow. One whistle means you can fire. 3 whistles means it's clear and safe to retrieve your arrows. Cameron's determined now. He's gonna beat Ryan. That's his goal right now. He wants to walk away with that blueberry cereal for 3rd place. That's what we give. Count Chocula for first because it's clearly the best.
True.
Frankenberry for 2nd place. And nobody likes blueberry, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's definitely a 3rd place trophy.
Or you guys give him like plain Cheerios.
I guess that would be, or Kix. Kix, the
Yeah,
most
Kix is
flavorless
pretty good.
styrofoam flavored cereal ever.
Yeah.
Cameron is taking his time, which is something that I really like to see archers do. I think rushing that shot is never a good idea. I challenge you guys to sit in a room for 2 minutes and do nothing, and you will be bored. So when I say 2 minutes, it doesn't sound like a lot of time until you experience 2 minutes. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that is way more time than I thought it would be. Do they give you a time limit for 3D shoots?
No. There's just like a certain number of hours like they're open. You just
Oh,
have
right.
to turn in your scorecard by the end of it.
That's pretty cool. I know there's a website called Archery Events, and they have live scoring. So you basically get your phone out and enter your competitor information, and the scores are posted live.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really cool. It's definitely based on an honor system. A lot of archery is.
Yeah.
So as Kevin releases, you'll see his hand coming out from his face instead of back behind his face. I've always found with recurve archers that will turn their shot last minute. Whether that affected his score this round, I don't know. With bare bow without a sight, you kind of have to use good old Kentucky windage and figure out where to put your arrows by the groups.
Yeah.
A lot of archers are, when they start, are too worried about the bullseyes, and really what they should be concentrating on are just grouping their arrows. Once they start grouping consistently, we can get you to bullseyes from that point
Yeah.
on.
You can always move the sight.
Right. And you follow your trouble. A lot of people think that I'm shooting up, so I need to move down.
No, you gotta move up.
Yep, you move up. Close the gap. Oh, it looks like our puppy is being well taken care of
Yeah.
by some of our fans, which is a good thing. He's pretty terrified, and he's a little dog.
You saw more comfortable than he did when he got here, though.
Oh, yeah. He's enjoying the tournament.
Yeah.
He's our rally dog. So, Beth, I think we're going to see you at more LT archery things after this today.
Yeah.
Yeah, get some extra practice in.
Yeah, you can't have too much practice.
No, we have a lot of kids who bring their own bows too, which is pretty exciting because you would think at a high school they would be, restricted about it or not let it
Yeah.
happen. LT is pretty accommodating about it, and we're pretty thankful for that. It's one thing to shoot to practice, but when you're not behind the bow you're used to, it makes it a lot harder,
Yeah.
and that's not something you want to have going on.
It took me forever to dial in my sight. Now I want to deal with that again.
Right. Well, and unfortunately, when you go up poundage, which you will probably eventually do,
Yeah.
you're going to be back to square one with your sight, which is, yeah, it's not fun for archers. I am getting new limbs for my recurve, which means I'm going to have to totally redial in my sight, which I'm not looking forward to. Luckily, we're in indoor season. It's only 18 meters. Ryan doesn't look very happy,
No, he looks quite solemn.
but he can look solemn and still be winning. That's a very Ryan thing to do. All right. Ryan has a solid score, 20, and should not be upset. I would be happy with that score.
Excuses, excuses.
Right? I love it when archers blame their bow. It's my bow and my bow's messing up. Let's look at you first, and then
Yeah.
we'll look at your bow.
At one point, my dad just threw his bow on the ground, and it was like, someone's having a temper tantrum.
Oh, I know how much my bows cost. I would never do that.
Yeah, right.
A expensive bow rig, you're looking at like $1,200 easy.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. Nick is definitely redeeming himself with the 14, which is gonna mean that Kevin's gonna need a fantastic round to stay in this game.
Jake's shooting really consistency with another 27.
27 is a great score out of 30.
And Carson with a 25.
All right. The gap is increasing. 2 more rounds to go.
John's with a 16.
All right.
Kevin with a 18. Not
Oh,
bad.
Kevin. Exactly what he needs to be doing right now. And then we have Cameron.
Looks like a smile for 22.
Awesome. Great rounds. So that puts us with the followings. In first place, we have Jake Grimzo with 218.
Second, we have Carson still with 211.
Third place, we have Ryan with a 185.
Fourth, we have Cameron with it's tied with John for 161.
So fortunately, there's no prize for fourth, but it's nice to pull your score up that high and get back into the game.
Yeah.
Nick is holding on solid. A solid bare bow score of 103. That is a 10-point difference from Kevin Foodie with a 93.
I'm glad to see you close that gap.
It looks like, though, that we have a miss. And it looks like we might have a
Oh.
double miss, so it won't affect him that much. This is where you have to make those scores really count. Really consistent shooting from Nick. He's in the same spot. He's got a solid group. He's just got to move that group. This might be the round where if Kevin can get a good, solid bullseye, he might be able to close that gap significantly. Both of them are walking away looking kind of frustrated.
I think Kevin shot decently.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He definitely, I think, beat Nick this round. And Ryan is shooting that old bow great. Like, it's an old bow, but it's still
Yeah.
flinging arrows. Here goes Cameron. I know he really wants to get back in the game. We got John with a little bit of a lean. Typically, that'll take his shot high, except it went low this time. It's a lot to be told with the body form of the archer. Sometimes you can tell where their shot's going to go before they even know.
Yeah.
One thing I'm noticing is all of our archers have a nice solid hold on their follow through.
Yeah.
And that's keeping their shots pretty consistent too. Too many times archers will drop their bow before the shot's even gone, not even realizing that they're doing it.
Yeah, I did that for the longest time.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. You almost have to like shoot and say 1,000, 1,000 before you drop your bow arm. It's a very common thing. That and collapsing, they'll let that front arm bend because it's already pre-bent, and it's just natural to let it just collapse the rest of the way.
Yeah. At least I don't think there's any string whip incidents yet.
Not too bad, no. It's part of the form that they use. I know that a lot of these archers have learned from me, and I teach a hand out and elbow out 45 degrees, it's slightly popped out. If you do that well, you should never slap your arm.
Yeah.
When you do slap your arm, that hurts.
Yeah.
Leaves a good bruise.
You'd probably hear it if they got string whip.
I have a young archer on my competitive team, and I'll hear her actually cry from like anywhere in the store whenever she slaps her arm. She crumbles and tears start pouring out.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so she's a recurve shooter. You'll find the recurve shooters are way more prone to slap their arm with the bowstring as they let go than a compound shooter is. Part of that's the form. You can't bend your arm as a recurve shooter. You have to lock out. They make a thing called an arm guard.
Yeah, I lived with that one.
Did you? You had an arm guard?
Until I realized, oh wait, you do have to bend your arm more than that.
Yep. And we're not talking a bend. We're just talking pop it out of lock.
Yeah.
So we only have a 7-point difference between Jake and Carson. This round at this point is very key. I think Carson's really hoping for Jake to make a mistake at this point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's all it takes at this point spread is one solid mistake, one dropped arrow. And yeah, it could be pretty ugly. Looks like some of our TV crew is getting bored.
Yeah.
So are you announcing for other sports this season?
Hockey.
Hockey? Are you a hockey fan?
I'm a huge hockey fan. I went to almost every LT game last season.
That is my daughter's antithesis because she's a figure skater. Yeah, so she's always like, hockey. They're always taking my ice time. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan has a solid score of a 22.
Yeah.
Here comes John. I
like
can't tell if he's happy or disappointed or what's going on.
Well, there's a smile.
He has this 12, which is a good score. I think what John is finding out is without practice, you get tired.
Yeah.
And getting tired will affect your scores. All right, Jake's got a score in. Let's see what he got.
25.
25. Ties for Jake, low score of the day. Can Carson pull it out?
24, it looks like.
24. They're still neck and neck. That's okay, Nick. So we have Kevin.
Kevin with an 11.
11. Now, is this going to be the round where Kevin takes Nick?
Nick has a 2.
Nick has a 2. So we are dealing with
1 point.
a 1-point lead by Nick. Kevin has to stay solid and get some really good shots out. The lead between Jake and Carson is significantly different. Well, not significantly. It could still be done in a round. But we're dealing with a 243 for Jake. And then Carson is a 235. Ryan with a 207. Cameron with a 183. And John with a 173. John started out the tournament really, really strong. And you can kind of see now that as he gets tired, his scores are going down.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for a score from Cameron.
As usual.
Cameron doesn't like turning in his score or something. I don't know.
That's work.
It's work, yeah. Adding 3 numbers is hard.
It's very difficult.
3
It's
numbers
like math.
under double digits.
Triple digit numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One
Alright.
triple digit number.
Exactly. It's hard.
All right. We have a score of 201 from Cameron, which puts him in 4th place pretty solidly. All right. We're going into our 10th round. There's a lot of factors that could happen here. Jake would have to get 3 misses probably for him to lose the lead.
Yeah.
Both of those archers are really solid shooters. It's going to be interesting. The archers to watch this round are Nick and Kevin. Kevin really just had that awful round of 1 point and just out
Yeah.
of nowhere just pulled it out of the fire.
Yeah, I got 21. That's impressive.
They're both friends, so we'll see how this friendly rivalry fleshes out. But 1 point, I wonder if there's going to be like them taking time and watching each other's shots, and then the other one's going to shoot to see, oh, I could beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, John's form is definitely showing he's getting a little bit tired, and that's okay. Quick drop.
Yeah, it happens.
It does. To everybody.
Yeah.
Let's watch Cameron's follow through on this shot. His back elbow's low. It's always going to take his shot up high. Back elbow looks a little bit wonky.
Yeah.
All right. We are on our B line. Kevin's taking a knee, praying to the archery gods.
He's a little overconfident.
He might get more tired than Nick because Nick has that lighter poundage bow.
Yeah.
All right, Nick's taking a shot. It's a solid blue or black.
I think
Looks
it's
like
black.
might be a 4. And Kevin took his shot. Yet? I don't know. I can't tell.
It's either like a 2 or a miss.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's in the
it's hard to
white.
tell at this angle
Yeah.
without the scope. Here goes Nick's other shot.
It's in the red.
It's never in the red. He's climbing. Foodie did what's called a push-pull with recurve, where he came forward and then pulled through. You kind of want to do that constant expansion. You don't really want to push and then pull. Oh, that is a solid ending to Nick's round. This is going to be a close one, folks.
Oh, yeah. You could just feel the tension.
Kevin's feeling pretty confident right now. He thinks he has it. We will tell when we get to the target. Granted, there's only 2, so it's only going to be first or second place
Yeah.
anyways. But, yeah, it's fun to see 2 friends shoot that close together. And
Yeah. I used to be a competitive dancer, and like when we'd like enter a competition, we'd be the only one in our division, and you'd like automatically win first place. Like everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, we won first," and then there'd be the one person that was like, "Oh well, we're the only one there."
right, it's winning by default. We had,
Yeah.
before other high schools had archery teams or clubs, we had T-shirts that said state champions for 14 years, and then in fine print under it said by default.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter is a competitive figure skater, and she's struggling a little bit, but she doesn't like to get second place. She says that's just first at being last.
Yeah.
So, and that's the kind of competitive spirit that sometimes you need for sports. She's a good sport about it. She goes and always congratulates the other
Yeah.
skaters and stuff. But dance is a very hard competitive thing too.
It's really hard when you lose by like 1 or 2 points from something really technical.
And the judging is so critical on it too.
Yeah.
Like someone misses an element of the routine and there goes your points. And
Yeah.
someone 2 foot's a landing and ice skating and your points go through the toilet. The hard thing I think with figure skating is they announce your scores out loud in front of everyone
Oh yeah.
at the end, which I think is just cruel.
It'd be like a geometry teacher just announcing everyone's test scores.
Right? All right, Ryan brings in a 22, which gives him a 229. I think he's going to pretty solidly hold on to 3rd place with that score, unless Cameron has even if Cameron has a 30, actually if Cameron has a 30, he could pull it out. We'll see. Cameron might be able to Cameron has a really high score this round, actually. It might be close. John's coming in with his score. 18. Nice finish. Dug deep, pulled out a higher score. All right, Carson doesn't look very happy.
Part one of the moment of truth.
Oh, and it's such a great score for him, too. 27 out of 30. We'll see what happens. Did
Here it
Jake
is.
hold on to it?
25.
25 puts Jake at a
Oh.
268. Carson's under him by 6 points with a 262. That was fun to watch.
Yeah.
We're waiting for some scores. We're still waiting for Cameron's score to see if he's going to beat Ryan Osney. And then we have the battle of the buds,
Yeah.
Kevin and Nick, to see if their scores are enough to win. I know Kevin's hoping to win.
Looks like they're comparing right now.
Yeah, Nick's actually borrowing Kevin's bow for this tournament. It's pretty much a slap in the face if he brought his friend just to shoot against, and then his friend borrows his bow and then whoops him.
Oh, God.
I don't know. They're both smiling. They're taking it like champs. They're being good sports. All right. Nick has a 14. I'm entering it now.
Kevin has a 16.
Oh, there it is. All right. That Kevin pulls out the lead
By 1 point.
by 1 point. One little point.
Yeah.
If Nick didn't have that round where he had 2 points, he would solidly have this lead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was fantastic. I don't
Yeah.
know what to tell you. I'm pretty happy. All right, we're going to take a quick short break, and then we're going to come back to our award ceremony, as our targets are already falling apart downrange anyways.
Yeah.
So it's a good time for that. And we'll talk to you in a bit. All right, so we're back with our award ceremony. It was a very exciting tournament. Very, very close at parts. In third place, with a score of 229, we have Ryan Ostie. Look at the camera, smile. There you go. And for third place, he gets the cereal nobody likes. It's Blueberry.
I actually like blueberry.
You're the one. Okay. He says he likes Blueberry. He's lying. All right. In second place, I have the score wrong. In second place, with a score of 262, Carson Crisp. 262, congratulations. Look at the camera. All right. He gets second place, which is our traditional prize of Frankenberry. Not as bad as Blueberry. There you go, sir. Congratulations. Oh, it's right here. All right. And in first place with a score of 268, Jake Rimza, dominating the tournament. Good job. Look at the camera. Smile. That's how it's done in archery tournaments. And he gets Count Chocula, the best prize ever. Yeah, thanks. All right, let's do our recurve, barebow recurve division. 1 point. This is the difference of 1 point, folks. With a score of 119, we have Nick Honar. There you go. Look at the camera. Very nice. He also gets Frankenberry. Great cereal. 1 point with a score of 120 as opposed to 119. Kevin Foodie, who I'm pretty sure at one point thought he didn't have this tournament. All right. And he gets Count Chocula. So thank you for watching. I hope you had a good time watching our tournament. We'll see you next year. Thanks.